The mining colony on Proxima Centauri buzzed with activity. Workers moved through tunnels deep in the planet's crust, extracting rare minerals needed back on Earth. Commander Song walked through the control center, checking readouts and nodding to the staff. It was another normal day until it wasn't. The alarm blared without warning. Song rushed to the main console where Officer Bay pointed at the radar screen. Unknown vessels, Commander. They appeared out of nowhere. 7 massive ships. Song's heart raced. Hail them. No response. Bay tried again. They're blocking our signals. The first explosion rocked the colony. Dust fell from the ceiling as lights flickered. Everyone to emergency stations, Song ordered, her voice calm despite the fear gripping her chest. She activated the emergency beacon, fingers flying over the controls. This is Commander Song of Proxima Mining Colony. We are under attack by unknown forces. Sending all data now. Before she could finish, a second blast hit closer. Screens went dark. The transmission cut off mid-sentence. The distress signal traveled through space, reaching Earth in just over 4 years. Admiral Park stood at the viewport of Luna Base, watching Earth rotate below. Her reflection showed a face lined with worry. Behind her, officers worked at their stations, preparing for what might be humanity's last stand. Admiral, we've analyzed the Proxima data, reported Lieutenant Kim, approaching with a tablet. The ships match no known configuration. Park nodded. And their capabilities? Far beyond ours. Their weapons tore through the colony's shields like paper. Kim hesitated. The good news, if you can call it that, is we've had 4 years to prepare since the signal arrived. Park turned to face the command center. Maps and ship positions filled the large screens. Earth's fleet, hastily expanded but still woefully small, appeared as blue dots around Luna and Mars. Intelligence reports confirmed the aliens, now identified as the Krell, had moved methodically through the outer colonies. They would reach Earth within days. Show me everything we know about their technology, Park ordered. Kim pulled up scans from a recent skirmish near Mars, where a small human scout ship had managed to escape after a brief exchange of fire with a Krell patrol. Their hulls are reinforced with something we can't identify. Their weapons output is 5 times our strongest cannons. But their shields. He highlighted a section of data. There's something odd about the energy pattern. Park leaned closer. Explain. Their shields fluctuate at regular intervals, almost like breathing. There's a microsecond when they're weaker. Kim looked up. If we could time our weapons to hit at exactly those moments. Park's eyes narrowed. Could we modify our current weapons systems to do that? It would require precise timing and new targeting algorithms, but yes. Park called her command staff together. They gathered around the strategy table, faces grim. The Krell have destroyed or conquered every human outpost beyond Mars, Park began. Their technology exceeds ours in almost every way. They've refused all attempts at communication. They think we'll surrender without resistance, she continued, looking at each officer in turn. But they don't know humans very well, do they? A small smile crossed Colonel Jin's face. No, they don't. Park activated a holographic display of a Krell warship. Lieutenant Kim has discovered a weakness in their shield systems. It's small, but it's real. She outlined Kim's findings as the officers listened intently. We need to recalibrate every weapon on every ship, Commander Ryan said, already calculating the work involved. And develop new targeting systems, added Weapons Officer Tay. We have 48 hours before their main fleet reaches Earth orbit, Park said. Can it be done? The room fell silent. Kim finally spoke. With all respect, Admiral, we have no choice but to make it possible. Park nodded. Divided, we fall. United, we might stand a chance. She straightened her uniform. Begin modifications immediately. Every ship, every weapon. As her staff hurried to their tasks, Park returned to the viewport. Somewhere out there, the Krell were approaching, confident in their superior technology and numbers. They expected an easy victory, perhaps even a surrender. Lieutenant Kim joined her, data tablets still in hand. The modifications are already underway, Admiral. Good. Park's reflection showed a new determination replacing the earlier worry. Then we'll give them a surprise they'll never forget. The laboratory deep inside Luna Base hummed with energy. Engineer Han had not slept for 3 days. Her eyes were red, her uniform wrinkled. But none of that mattered now. The device in front of her glowed with a blue light that pulsed in a steady rhythm. Try it again, she told her team. They stepped back as Han adjusted several controls. The emitter whined, its pitch rising higher and higher. Han held her breath. The last 12 tests had failed. Some had even exploded. This was their final prototype. The blue light stabilized. The readings on her screen showed green across all parameters. Han wiped sweat from her brow and let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. We've done it. This will bypass their shields completely. Her team erupted in cheers. One assistant fell to his knees in relief. They had been working non-stop since Lieutenant Kim discovered the shield fluctuation pattern. How does it work? Asked a young technician. Han pointed to the core of the device. The Krell shields operate on a fixed frequency pattern. This emitter creates a quantum cascade effect that slides between those frequencies. When their shields pulse to their weakest point, our weapons will be perfectly timed to strike. How many can we build in time? Han checked her calculations. If we use all available resources and personnel, enough for the main fleet within 36 hours. She sent an urgent message to Admiral Park. In the command center, Intelligence Officer Lee stood before the assembled leadership. His face showed the strain of days without proper rest, but his voice remained steady. Our stealth probes have returned with critical information, Lee said. He activated a hologram projector. A complex three-dimensional map appeared, showing hundreds of red dots clustered around a distant star system. The Krell aren't just sending a single fleet, Lee explained. They're gathering their forces here, in the Tau Ceti system. Our scouts confirm they're preparing for a full invasion of our solar system. Admiral Park studied the hologram. How many ships? Over 300 warships, plus support vessels. Lee zoomed in to show the massive Krell dreadnoughts. They plan to overwhelm us with numbers. Park nodded grimly. The room fell silent. Humanity had barely a tenth of that number. When do they plan to launch their attack? Asked Colonel Jean. Based on their current activity, within 5 days, Lee replied. Park's communication device beeped. She read Engineer Han's message, and for the first time in days, she smiled. We may have a chance, she said. Captain Yoon was eating dinner in the officer's mess when the summons came. He had just returned from a patrol near Mars, where his ship had narrowly escaped a Krell scout vessel. In Admiral Park's private office, he found the Admiral studying battle plans with her senior staff. Captain Yoon, Park greeted him. Thank you for coming so quickly. Yoon saluted. How can I help, Admiral? Everyone in the fleet knew Yoon's reputation. He had started as a cargo pilot before joining the military. His unusual background gave him a different way of thinking about space combat. Some called his tactics reckless, but no one could argue with his results. Park dismissed her staff, leaving just the two of them. She explained Engineer Han's breakthrough and showed him Intelligence Officer Lee's report on the Krell staging area. I need your expertise for this mission, Park said finally. Yoon studied the tactical display, his mind already racing through possibilities. You want to attack them at their staging point? Before they come to us? Park nodded. Exactly. A direct jump into their staging area? Yoon traced the route with his finger. It's never been done before. Our jump technology isn't precise enough for that kind of insertion. We could end up scattered across half the system or worse, inside a star or planet. Engineer Han says she can modify our jump drives to make it work, Park replied. We would need our entire fleet to jump simultaneously, emerging in perfect formation, directly among the Krell ships. Yoon whistled softly. The plan was either brilliant or suicidal, possibly both. They'll have no warning, Park continued. With Han's quantum cascade emitters, we can bypass their shields. It would give us a critical first strike advantage. Against a force that outnumbers us 10-1, Yoon pointed out. That's precisely why it will work, Park replied, leaning forward. They'll never expect it. The Krell think we're cowering in our home system, waiting for them to arrive. They've conquered dozens of species this way. But humans aren't like the others. Yoon was silent for a long moment. Then a slow smile spread across his face. No, we're not. We're much more stubborn. Will you lead the vanguard? Park asked. Yoon stood straighter. It would be my honor, Admiral. Good. We have 36 hours to prepare. Every ship will be equipped with Han's emitters and the modified jump drives. As Yoon turned to leave, Park added, Captain, this mission is our only hope. If we fail, Earth falls. Yoon nodded. Then we won't fail. The human fleet gathered at the edge of the solar system. 127 ships, from massive carriers to nimble frigates, formed a precise formation. Every ship had been fitted with Engineer Han's quantum cascade emitters. Every weapon had been recalibrated. Every crew was ready. Captain Yoon stood on the bridge of the UES Dauntless, his flagship. Through the viewport, he could see dozens of other vessels, their running lights glowing against the darkness of space. All ships report ready, Captain, said Navigator Choi. Yoon nodded. Open fleet-wide communication. Admiral Park's face appeared on the main screen. She was leading the operation from the command carrier UES Intrepid. This is Admiral Park to all ships. You know your mission. You know what's at stake. Her voice was calm, steady. The Krell believe we are weak. Today, we prove them wrong. She looked down at something off-screen, then back up. Jump coordinates are locked. Engineer Han confirms all quantum cascade emitters are operational. We will jump in exactly 5 minutes. Yoon turned to his crew. Some were veterans, others had been civilians just months ago. All wore the same expression of determined focus. This is it, he told them. The largest coordinated jump in human history. We will emerge directly among the enemy fleet. Remember your training. Trust your instincts. Protect your fellow ships. Navigator Choi began the countdown. Jump in 3 minutes. Weapons Officer Min made a final check of the ship's systems. All weapons ready, cascade emitters at full power. 2 minutes to jump. Yoon felt a strange calm settle over him. He had always performed best when the odds were worst. 1 minute. He took his seat and secured the safety harness. All crew, prepare for jump. 30 seconds. The ship's jump drive began to hum, the sound rising in pitch. 10 seconds, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Jump. Reality twisted. The stars stretched into lines of light, then vanished completely. For a heartbeat that seemed to last forever, they existed in the non-space between points. Then, with a flash and a jolt that rattled every bolt in the ship, they emerged. Into chaos. The Krell staging area filled the viewscreens. Massive alien warships hung in space just hundreds of meters away. The human fleet had appeared in their midst, exactly as planned. All ships, fire at will. Yoon ordered. The Dauntless shuddered as its weapons unleashed their first salvo. The quantum cascade emitters glowed blue, sending out invisible waves that disrupted the Krell shields. Where there should have been bright flashes of energy as the shots impacted shields, there was nothing. The human weapons passed through as if the shields weren't there, slamming directly into Krell hull plating. It's working, shouted Weapons Officer Min, their shields are useless. Across the battlefield, the story was the same. Human ships, appearing out of nowhere, unleashing devastating first strikes against an enemy caught completely by surprise. On the Krell command vessel, Supreme Commander Drax stared in disbelief at the scene unfolding before him. "How is this possible?" he roared. "No species has ever dared to attack a Krell battle group directly." His officers had no answers. Alarms blared as their sensors finally caught up to reality. Attack alerts flashed on screens throughout the ship. "Shields are failing across the fleet," reported a Krell officer. "The humans are using some kind of technology we've never seen before." "Return fire. Launch all fighters," Drax ordered. But the Krell response was slow, disorganized. Their battle doctrine relied on overwhelming force against a defensive enemy. They had no protocols for being ambushed in their own staging area. The human ships moved with unexpected agility. The Dauntless dove between two Krell cruisers, its weapons tearing into their engines. Smaller human vessels darted around like insects, too quick for the Krell targeting systems to track. "Enemy ships are scrambling," reported Navigator Choi. "They weren't prepared for us." Yoon allowed himself a small smile. Admiral Park was right. They never expected this. The bridge shook as a Krell destroyer managed to land a hit on their port side. "Damage to decks 3 and 4, reported the damage control officer. "Shields holding at 60%. "Bring us around," Yoon ordered. "Target their weapons arrays." On the main tactical display, Yoon could see the battle unfolding. The human fleet, though outnumbered, had seized the initiative. Krell ships were slow to react, their formations falling apart as they tried to respond to an attack from within. "Admiral Park is signaling Phase 2, Communication Officer Ju announced. Yoon nodded. "All ships, execute Formation Delta. The Krell are regrouping. Hit their engine cores and communication arrays." The human fleet shifted, breaking into smaller tactical groups that could target multiple Krell vessels simultaneously. "They adapt so quickly," muttered a Krell officer as he watched the battle unfold. "It's like they know exactly where to strike." Supreme Commander Drax had no answer. For the first time in his long career, he faced an enemy that refused to follow the rules of engagement as the Krell understood them. And for the first time, he felt something unfamiliar, doubt. The battle had raged for nearly an hour. Debris from destroyed ships, both human and Krell, floated through the vacuum. The initial surprise of the human attack had given them a significant advantage, but now the tide seemed to be turning. "Admiral, Krell reinforcements have arrived," Lieutenant Kim reported from his station aboard the UES Intrepid. His voice was tense as he pointed to the tactical display. A new wave of Krell warships had jumped into the battlefield. They emerged in perfect formation, their massive hulls gleaming in the light of the distant star. Admiral Park studied the display calmly. Anyone watching her would never have guessed the weight on her shoulders. Earth's fate hung in the balance, yet her voice remained steady. "How many?" "At least 60 more ships, Admiral. Mostly heavy cruisers and dreadnoughts." The command center fell silent. Even with their quantum cascade technology, the humans were now severely outnumbered. Several officers exchanged worried glances. Park tapped her console, opening a channel to Captain Yoon. "Captain, the situation has changed." Yoon's face appeared on screen. His uniform was dirty, and a small cut above his eye had left a trail of dried blood down his cheek. Behind him, smoke filled parts of the Dauntless bridge. "I see them, Admiral." "Recommendations?" Park had prepared for this. "Implement swarm tactics. Break into strike teams and target their command nodes." Yoon's eyes widened slightly, then he nodded. "Understood." Park addressed the entire fleet. "All ships, this is Admiral Park. Our advantage was surprise, and now we need a new one. Execute protocol swarm immediately." The human fleet began to change its formation. Instead of maintaining a unified front, the ships broke into smaller groups of 3 to 5 vessels each. These small teams scattered in different directions, moving with a speed and agility that caught the Krell off guard once again. On the Krell flagship, Supreme Commander Drax watched in confusion as the human fleet seemed to disintegrate before his eyes. "They're retreating," one of his officers suggested. No, Drax said slowly. This is something else. He was right. The small human task forces darted between the much larger Krell ships, attacking from multiple angles at once. Where the Krell expected a traditional battle line, they now faced dozens of small, agile hunting packs. Target the largest human vessel, Drax ordered, pointing to the Admiral's ship. But before his gunners could lock on, 3 human frigates swooped in from different directions, their quantum cascade emitters allowing their weapons to bypass the flagship's shields. Explosions rocked the Krell vessel. Our external sensors are damaged, reported a Krell officer. Communication array is offline. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out. The human ships moved as if they were dancing, coordinating their attacks with precision that the Krell couldn't match. Their larger ships, designed for power rather than maneuverability, struggled to track the smaller, faster human vessels. They adapt too quickly, Drax's second-in-command observed, watching another Krell cruiser lose power after a targeted strike to its engine core. Their ships move as if they know our protocols. Drax slammed his fist on the command console. Because they do. They studied us while we ignored them. On the UES Dauntless, Captain Yoon directed his battle group with calm efficiency. Team Bravo, target that destroyer's port engines. Team Echo, draw fire from those cruisers. The human ships responded instantly, each small team functioning as a single unit. Sir, the Krell flagship is isolated, Navigator Choi reported. Their communication systems are damaged. Yoon opened a channel to Admiral Park. Admiral, we have an opportunity. The Krell command ship is vulnerable. Park didn't hesitate. Major Kong, prepare your boarding team. Major Kong and her Special Forces unit had been waiting for this moment. Clad in advanced space combat armor, they boarded their assault shuttle. Remember your training, Kong told her team as the shuttle launched from the Intrepid. We get in, we secure the bridge, we take the Supreme Commander alive if possible. The shuttle raced across the battlefield, dodging debris and enemy fire. The Dauntless and 2 other ships provided cover, drawing the remaining Krell defenses away from the approach vector. Inside the Krell flagship, alarms blared as sensors detected the incoming shuttle. They would dare to board us? Drax was incredulous. The shuttle attached to the Krell ship's hull. Explosive charges created an entry point, and Major Khan led her team inside. The firefight was intense but brief. The human soldiers moved through the alien corridors with practiced efficiency, their weapons calibrated to penetrate Krell armor. 20 minutes later, Major Kong stood on the bridge of the Krell flagship, her weapon pointed at Supreme Commander Drax. Supreme Commander, she said, your ship is taken. Your fleet is in disarray. She activated her communication device. Major Kong to Admiral Park. We've secured the bridge. The Supreme Commander is in custody. Across the battlefield, human crews cheered as the news spread. The Krell forces, learning that their leader had been captured, began to fall back. The battle wasn't over, but its outcome was no longer in doubt. Humanity had done the impossible. The Krell surrender came 3 hours after Supreme Commander Drax's capture. White energy flares, the Krell equivalent of a white flag, lit up space as their remaining ships powered down weapons systems. For the first time in their 1,000-year expansion, the mighty Krell Empire had been defeated in open battle. On Earth, crowds gathered in streets and plazas as news of the victory spread. People who had prepared for invasion now celebrated salvation. Children who had practiced emergency drills now danced and played under open skies that would remain free. Admiral Park stood alone in her quarters aboard the UES Intrepid. Her uniform jacket hung over a chair, metals gleaming in the dim light. She stared at a list of ships and personnel lost in the battle. The victory had come at a cost: 39 ships destroyed, over 2,000 lives lost. She committed each name to memory, a burden she would carry forever. A soft chime announced a visitor. Enter, she called. Captain Yoon stepped inside. Like Park, he had changed from his battle-worn uniform, but exhaustion still lined his face. The Krell delegation is ready to sign the formal surrender, he reported. Park nodded and reached for her jacket. And Drax? Still in custody. He's been talkative. This surprised Park. What has he said? That's why I came personally. Yoon's expression was grave. The Krell aren't the only power out there, Admiral. According to Drax, there are at least a dozen major species with interstellar capabilities. Some have been watching Earth for decades. Park absorbed this in silence. One battle won, but many more potentially ahead. There's more, Yoon continued. News of our victory is spreading. Intelligence Officer Lee has been monitoring Krell communications. Several planets under Krell control have declared independence. The Empire is fracturing. We didn't just defeat an attack force, Park realized. We broke an empire. A rather unexpected side effect, Yoon agreed with a small smile. 3 weeks later, Admiral Park walked through the grand halls of the Galactic Council. Located on a massive space station at the junction of several major trade routes, the council chambers housed representatives from the oldest and most powerful civilizations in the known galaxy. Park had never felt so small, yet so proud. She was the first human to walk these halls, the first to represent Earth before this assembly. The council members watched her approach, some with multiple eyes, others with sensory organs humans had no words for. Their forms varied wildly, from crystalline structures to gaseous beings contained in special suits. Admiral Park of Earth, announced the chief counselor, a tall being with iridescent skin. You stand before this council as representative of a species previously unknown to galactic society. Park bowed slightly. I am honored to be here. Your defeat of the Krell is unprecedented, continued the counselor. Many here believed it impossible. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Park stood straight. Humanity does not seek domination, she stated firmly. We seek partnership and mutual respect. The Krell threatened our existence. We defended ourselves. With remarkable efficiency, noted another counselor. Your species jumped from planetary defense to defeating a major power in one move. We adapt quickly, Park said simply. After hours of discussion, the council reached its decision. Earth would be granted full membership status, an honor usually reserved for species with centuries of interstellar experience. Your arrival has changed the balance of power, the chief counselor told Park privately after the session. Be careful. You have made both friends and enemies today. Back on Earth, Captain Yoon stood before a cheering crowd as the president placed the Medal of Valor around his neck. Beside him, other key figures from the battle received similar honors: Engineer Han, Major Kong, Intelligence Officer Lee, Lieutenant Kim. Later, at the reception, Yoon slipped away from the celebrations. He found a quiet balcony overlooking the city lights. Engineer Han joined him, still uncomfortable in her formal dress uniform. Not enjoying your hero's welcome, Captain? Yoon stared at the medal in his hand. We won because they underestimated us, he said quietly. That's not a mistake anyone will make again. Han nodded. The quantum cascade technology is already being improved. And I hear the Galactic Council has offered to share some of their science with us. It's not the technology that worries me, Yoon replied. It's what comes next. We've stepped onto a much larger stage. Across the stars, the story spread from world to world, system to system. The humans had achieved in days what other species had failed to accomplish in centuries. They were few in number, their technology was young, but their courage and adaptability had earned them respect and caution throughout the galaxy. In the former Krell territories, newly liberated species studied everything they could learn about Earth. Some saw potential allies. Others saw a new threat replacing the old. And on a distant world, hidden from most galactic maps, ancient beings who had watched civilizations rise and fall for millennia turned their attention to humanity for the first time. The game had changed. The pieces were moving. And humanity had just announced its presence to the universe.